Okay, cool. Kia ora tātou, no mai hoki mai to the satellite office of Whakatane Libraries and Galleries for today. Coming to you live from Matata. And thank you so much for joining me on the Zoom today. And thanks for navigating yourselves here today with the million changes in technology invites. I really appreciate your time and energy today. So I'll pretty much how it's going to go is each of you will all get a turn to kind of talk about your work, and there's definitely an option to share your screen if you would like to speak to images, or you have something that you would like to present. That's totally cool. For the kaupapa, I guess, of the night is just to gain a little bit more insight into each of your works in the show at the moment, and using this as a forum to kind of connect during these unsettling times. And then at the end, be keen to share it on all of our socials, and yeah, there. So if everyone's cool with that, like open the floor, and there wasn't any order in particular that I had in mind, but if anyone would like to volunteer themselves to go first, then cool. If not, I can just choose someone and then we'll go from there. So yeah, just like to kind of open the floor.
I'll go first so I get it over and done with.
So the rest of you guys, while the other person's talking, feel free to mute yourself if you like, or not. And full disclosure, a kid may interrupt my screen, but that's all right. And if whānau interrupt your screen, case by, just keep rolling and we'll just roll with the punches, because that's how we go. As people join the Zoom, I'll just admit them in and try not to disrupt the flow of anyone talking at that certain time. So cool.
Can I just say, Israel, I've sent my husband the link, so Chris Knox will probably be trying to join.
Yeah, got him.
You got him? So because we're looking at everything and it's supposedly normal apart from the fact you can't see me.
Okay, all good. I'll just admit you guys in, and
thank you.
We can we can start with you. And if I guess I'm happy for questions to be asked throughout while someone is talking, but just maybe raise your hand in the technological world, and then we'll go from there and try keep it as seamless as possible. But bear with me, I'm also still learning about all of this. So yeah, no mai haere mai to those of you who have just joined us. We're just going to kick off with Wendy. So cool.
Okay.
I'm handing over the floor to you.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for that. I don't have an image of my work, so I don't know what I'm going to do about that. Because I don't know how to share it, because I'm not very good. I'm new to Zoom or to Zoom, but sorry, I didn't hear what she said, but I'll just keep talking then. So anyway, my name's Wendy Hannah, and I'm actually from Ngāti Awa. So Whakatane is my tangata whenua. And so it's a pleasure to be exhibiting in Whakatane at the art, the Whakatane Art Gallery. So I'll just explain. I'm a sculptural painter and a light artist, and recently I've been playing with reflective and refractive light. So my work is based on the visual rendering of kōwhiti, which is the cross stitch in tukutuku, as a cultural referent, which I present in its most abstract form, the X shape. So I look at each individual cross, kōwhiti or stitch as a person. They're people. All my X's that I've made over the years are people, and their light and their colour and their connections as well. So these X's are connections to people as well. So to give you a little bit of context, and why the X has been prevalent in my work from the beginning. This is a story from Ngāti So after the Māori Land Wars in 1872, Ngāti elder Apanui built the Mātātua Whare as a beacon of light for peace among all the fighting tribes and Europeans of the Whakatane area. And it was a masterpiece of Māori design, from whakairo, tukutuku, lattice work, called whaiwhai, and even to the timbers, the native timbers that they used. It was beautiful marae, and it was awesome. It was quite a large scale as well. And because it was so beautiful, our whare was lost to our people for over 140 years. So it travelled the world as a testament to Māori architecture and crafts. But unfortunately, all the tukutuku panels, lattice work, and some of the whakairo, the carvings, were destroyed in that time. And so to hear this story, it greatly affected me, and I wanted to bring back all of the kōwhiti stitches that were lost within that work. And so I wanted to bring them back into the light using reflection and refraction to create beacons of light likened to a Fresnel lens that we use in a lighthouse. And, that protects, if you're on the water, it keeps you from harm and protects you from going aground. So this work in particular, Mau Mahara, which is Memories, is from my home series, of which this work is part of a contemporary interpretation of Apanui's idea to create beacons of light for peace. So this is why this is this work. So it's sort of translating historically and from our ancestor Apanui, and so I'm translating it into the future, his ideas of beacons of light for peace. And so this work, it sort of changes from day to night. So in the gallery, when you see it in the gallery, it's using mostly artificial light, but when the work is in natural light, it reads totally differently, and it's really, really beautiful. And I hope you have a chance to see it in that natural light. Because it sort of throws lots of spectrums all around the room, and so like I say, they're sort of connections. They're not just connections for me, they're connections for everyone. And especially the works connect to your memories. So sometimes when people sort of mention when they see the work, it opens up some memories for them. And, and that's the beauty about the work itself. So, so that's pretty much, the depth of the work that I'm doing, and in relation to Mau Mahara Memories, the work that's in the gallery at the moment. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Wendy. Does anyone have any questions? Or if not, we'll just save them for later. We can just have a big question thing at the end.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you. That was stressful.
Awesome. Tēnei te mihi ki a koe, Wendy. Thank you for sharing with us a little bit about that, and cool to have that connection to the whenua, and because you know how often does that happen, putting your work into an award in your own kind of tangata whenua. So that me, thanks for that.
Yes, thank you.
Who would like to go next?
I'll go next, see if I can do this thing.
Oh,
So I have done a little PDF, so I'm going to see if I can share that. I'm on my husband's. So can you guys see that? No, hang on. Oh, hang on. Can you see that? Oh God, I'm really having trouble today. Okay, I'm just gonna talk. Can you see? Okay, I'm having trouble with my PDF as well. So I'm just gonna. Can you all hear me?
arrow in a square next to the mute button.
Can you hear me? Hello.
We can hear you. Oh. Pass it in then. You're just on mute, Kathy.
How are we going now? Good. Okay. So sorry about all this. So my work is a little wire piece, and it's called Homage. And this work is it's basically a piece of rock that was founded from Wanaka, just a little piece. It's about 130 millimeters high, and around that piece is it's woven with copper wire. The backstory to this body of work is about loss. I lost my brother a few years ago, and we decided that I wanted to honour his passing with on a journey up Mount Roy in Wanaka, and we took a couple of rocks from down at lake level and then walked to the top, and I brought 2 rocks down, and I wanted to honour those pieces for him. And so predominantly I'm a painter, but I work a lot in line, so it felt quite natural to start working with something that was quite fluid. And so I started to work with copper wire, and basically just 1 second. I don't know if you can see this. Can you see that? It's taking a piece of rock and just weaving around it in its natural form. So the piece, so you can see that kind of thing. So they become just beautiful objects in themselves, but the meaning that it attaches to them is the one that's in the award is speaks to family. So because there's 4 quadrants, and so there was 4 siblings, and my brother has passed away, so there remains the 3 sisters and my brother who's lost. So it's kind of just a nice way to honor him and celebrate a piece of something that's organic and natural, and make it into something that is loaded with meaning rather than being a humble, ordinary object. So it's something that I'm quite interested in, is the fact that we often, we walk on the beach, we go outside, we are often drawn to the collection of small organic items, and it's that that idea of taking something that is dear to you in your heart and making and celebrating the meaning that you attach to it. And yeah, there's been it's a nice thing to be able to do for people. I've had a few people, you know, that have found things, or a piece of stone that they've had in the family, or something that belonged to somebody that does stand for loss, but can also honor that person or that memory. And so yeah, I'm just working with wire, and each piece is different because yeah, no piece of rock is the same, and they all have their kind of challenges with how they're resolved. It seems at the start in the actual weaving is easy, but it's the resolve and how you make the kind of the back, I suppose, as resolved as the front. So it's like a circular organic piece that you might pick up off the beach and look in all its different shapes. So yeah, that's about my little piece, Homage.
Can you tell us a little bit about the scale of that work and why you chose that? The piece that you've seen? Yes, it's only about 130 mils high, so it's quite little, and it just sits directly on the wall, so it's quite flat, and because the wire goes encompasses the piece, I just got a little a tack in the wall, and it just literally sits over that, so there's no kind of fixtures or fittings. It's just like it's landed on the wall. Yeah. The weaving itself has a it's got quite a Japanese association with it as well. When I first started to weave in the copper, I was drawn to, you know, I kind of did the weaving and then went back and looked online, and the Japanese have an ancient craft called kanami, which is a centuries old art of weaving with wire. They make the tea strainers and the kind of kitchenwares, but there's literally nothing anywhere on that process. So I'm just kind of self-teaching myself the process with copper, and buying up all the copper supplies around all the hardware shops. Awesome. Anything else to add? I don't know. Has anyone else got any questions? Or so have you gone from painting to copper? No, I'm still painting. You know, I've been painting for a long time, but there are lots of linear aspects within my painting, lots of kind of line, I guess, and also like a lot of, I guess, abstracted writings. So a lot of very circular, linear pieces. So the nature of the wire seems to fit within that, within that practice as well. So they're kind of feeding off each other in the way that they do. But yeah, still painting, but loving working with wire also. So thank you for having me. Sorry about all my IT problems. No worries. Thanks so much for joining us. I might think of some questions for you all actually at the end. But yeah, thank you so much, Kathy, for sharing with us. Who wants to go next?
I can. Can you hear me?
Susan?
Oh,
Well, that was no. I mean, I can, but version.
Birgit. But no, you first. You go first.
Yeah, I've done I've done a PowerPoint, so I'm going to try and share it.
Oh,
Okay, so let's see if I can. Choose what to share. I don't know, it's on my desktop. How do I get to it?
usually when you do share screen, do you want me to? I'll just try and test it now, actually. So you share. It says share content, and then it'll come up with a little wheel of doom, and then it will ask you to choose which screen you want to choose. So
okay. It says entire screen, window.
Can you see my screen now? Can you all see my screen?
Microsoft, yeah. Maybe, gosh, window.
So that's how I share screen, but let me check if you all can share screen actually.
Entire screen, window. Entire screen. I want to share. Cancel that. Hang on. I don't know. Oh, it says open share straight. Open share tray. Desktop window. Entire screen. Oh, it's not letting me. I don't. Click the tab to click it. Oh, bugger.
Do you want to try send it to me and then someone else could go? And then
Okay. Okay. I mean, I can talk without it as well, but you know, maybe the other the other lady can go. You could talk while I try and figure it out.
Okay, cool. I can, shall I? Okay, so yeah, kia ora from sunny Otaki tonight. Before I start talking about my work, I just give you a bit of a background, I guess. So I'm German. I lived all my life in Berlin, in East Berlin, and in 2011 I came to New Zealand, and I married into the Tainui Waka, which is my husband's iwi is Ngāti Raukawa, Te Atiawa, Ngāti Toa Rangatira, and Ngāti Scottish. My work, so I studied, I didn't actually do anything back in Germany, anything artistic. I came here and I didn't know what to do with the rest of my life, so I started studying. My husband started to teach me raranga, but I also did a degree in visual arts, majoring in textiles, and at the same time I did the courses at Te Wānanga o Te Aotearoa in Toi Māori. So that work, my work is balancing act. I haven't got a image, but I don't know if that makes sense. If I hold it, can you see that? Okay, so balancing act is, I'm used harakeke for that work in a different form, and it's a quite personal piece. It's a healing piece for me, and it's that kind of first work I did like that. So that's a kind of my first work that looks like using those harakeke, curled harakeke tubes, I call them. So for the last 3+ years, my husband and I and some of our closer family have been in an unfortunate whānau situation, and a quite really stressful. We've got really stressful times with our wider whānau, and been really suffering on all levels. And that's why this work, so that work is based on the concept of Te Whare Tapawhā, which reflects 4 aspects of Māori well-being. So I have to say to that I'm actually, well, I come from a different culture. So in my culture, we don't look at 4 pillars. We look at body, mind, and soul. That's pretty much it. So while the concept of Te Whare Tapawhā is relating to the 4 pillars or 4 poles of body, tinana, mind, hinengaro, soul, wairua, and the 4th one is whānau or family. And that's why that piece was so important to me, to use harakeke as a material, because harakeke has a really deep connection to whānau. And so, yeah, so this piece is about healing, but it's like processing those difficult times we went through. And that also, I guess, shown me how important it is that all those 4 aspects are in balance. So we really, like, I struggled for the last couple of years. I struggled, my body, I wasn't all right, I wasn't healthy. I couldn't really work in my work as an artist. I was just basically doing, things that I'm used to do. So I couldn't really grasp any new ideas. It was really difficult. Couldn't sleep. So pretty much everything was out of balance. And so that's why for me it's a healing piece. Also, I've got, I don't know if you can see this, I've got one of those tubes, and you can see the scale of one of them. I don't know, is it? It's also got those 4 cuts in, representing those 4 pillars. So also the harakeke I have dyed. So it's dyed with manuka. Manuka also has healing properties. And I think I haven't counted them. Actually, I was going to, but I did not. I forgot about. But I do believe it's over 800 of those pieces. So that's going through the process of going back to be okay again. Not only me, but also my husband and some of my close whānau. The geometric pattern of the work, I actually never worked with geometric patterns. It's actually sort of not really me. So this is kind of new. For me, I guess they represent human connections, I guess. And that's what I found quite interesting with what I think what Wendy says, that every cross is a person. So I can relate to that in that context, that those pieces, they're sort of connections of human beings that have, when you move one side, it would somehow affect other people. You do one action and so and also just briefly, I think I'm probably going too long, but the shadows is another aspect of my work. It was quite interesting what Bob said the other week about shadows in my work. It was really interesting. For me, I don't know quite what it is, what I like about shadows. I think apart from they add another visual language or the visual layer to my work, but I also remember pretty much since I'm studied, I was always about shadows. It was always that magic that shadows throw, especially with my work, that's usually quite organic and has a lot of things going on in the shadows. For that piece, I guess it's kind of that, that assurance, sorry, that what we're going through is real. I guess so. That's kind of an explanation for that. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Can I just ask, have you had any shift in the way that you've been feeling after completing that work? There was a light shift before that. So we gone sort of half through, we've got solved one big issue, which allows me to process. I'm in my work, I can't process things at the same time as they're happening. I know that some artists, they can do that and quite well. I'm not able, I can't operate when I'm not everything is clear. So that creation was after we've sort of gone over through a big struggle or resolved a big issue, that gave me that peace of mind, I guess, to start processing and to actually think again and work again. Yeah.
I feel like that work is quite dynamic. Like it moves. Moves. It can move. It can mold or transform with whatever.
I quite like that idea also, because I'm coming from a textile background in my studies, and I really quite like the idea. It's almost like a piece of fabric like a piece of cloth that moves. And also the, on one side, it's really fragile, as you know that it's really fragile, but on the other side, it is also very robust, and that also refers to whānau relationships. They're very fragile, but on the other hand, they can be quite strong as well.
Beautiful. Thanks for that.
Thank you.
Ngā mihi kia koe, Birgit. Thank you for sharing. Susan, do you want to go now? I think there must be some type of technological thing where like only I can share the screen. Sorry about that. But if you want to just talk, that's fine. And oh, yes, Janna? Or do you want to talk, Janna? Up to either one of you.
Oh, okay. Look, I'll go and I won't try and share. It's kind of thrown me a little bit because I was going to talk to my images, but I mean, never mind. My work is the winter map, which I've made out of flora that I have found down by the Tutaikuri River, which is near where I live. So there's the river, and behind the river is the Otatara Pa and the Hikarangi Pa. So there's quite a lot of history in that area. But so when I first decided that I wanted to do some work down at the river, I wasn't sure what I was going to do, and that's part of the process for me. Is kind of that chance element, what are you going to find, and what am I going to end up making, and what will the finished work have to say beyond its kind of aesthetic appearance, and what will be its underlying narratives. And kind of the not knowing that is is the fun bit in a way. Anyway, I started to make this just one small work every time I went down to the river, and at the same time I'd kind of do a time lapse and some photography, and so and then I'd bring those little works back to my studio, and then, you know, once I'd got enough, just play around with them and put them on the wall, and, you know, like Birgit, I guess, you know, the shadows and things like that, I find really part of the aesthetic, you know, the joy of the work, I suppose. So once the works have come together and and they're sort of looking like the grid in the grid formation, I became aware of some of the possible underlying narratives, and the obvious was the environmental one. I'm just going to read my notes because I've sort of I needed my pictures. But I felt it could also act as a metaphor for colonisation, and just thinking about how those plants that I've found down there at the river, you know, the blackberry and the gorse, to name a couple, were introduced when Aotearoa was colonised by the Europeans, of which I am a descendant of, and who were trying to make this place sort of look more like the place that they had come from. And so these plants are out of place and have colonised vast areas of land. So, but I thought it was also interesting that every piece that I made, or pretty much every one, needed the flax plant to actually hold it together and to keep it held together. So that was another kind of underlying thing that came out of it. And by calling them maps, I'm referring to what exists there today, but also in a historical context of how Aotearoa was mapped and documented for various purposes, including the acquisition of land. But as part of this is, like, for me, it's just documenting an area that I'm spending time in and seeing what comes out of that aesthetically. And so I do a lot of photography, and so I was going to show you some of those photos because it's quite relevant to as another component to the work. So I can't show you any of those, but I guess what I could say is that I really enjoy working in the outdoors, and one of the things I like about this work is that it has a really low environmental impact, and I'm using materials that already exist, and also the digital component, which I'm still working on because that's quite experimental, because I'm trying to do a bit of sound, time lapse photos, you know, and create something that will go with each work, but it doesn't take up much space. Like, I've got this whole other art practice where I make really heavy things, oh, what's that?
Nice.
I don't know how that appeared, but anyway, so where was I? No, I've lost my way now. Oh, here we go. Okay. So yeah, I also enjoy documenting a place that could not be described as being obviously beautiful. So, you know, it's not fjord land or the Central Plateau or somewhere like that. But, you know, I've managed to take some really beautiful photographs just from being there, spending time in the place, and, you know, when the light captures a certain spot. And I mean, there's a bridge that crosses over the river where I'm working, and there's all this graffiti on the bridge, which gives another dimension to the work, to what's going on down at the river, and I think that what I'm finding is, as a European, as a descendant of just spending time in that environment, it gives me a sense of connection. And I think that regardless of your ancestry, it's important for the well-being of us all to somehow regain that and find our place in all of this. And you know, I mean, that's pretty much it. Sorry, it's a bit of a jumble. But that's it. I don't think I have anything else to say.
Awesome, thanks so much for sharing. Sorry for I was trying to get your image up while you were talking. Sorry for distracting your train.
I mean, you know, I feel quite like I'd spent all day putting that PowerPoint together, and I was kind of feeling quite calm because I thought, oh, you know, I've got this, but it didn't happen, and so it just threw me. So yeah, you know, there we go.
It was still beautiful to hear. It was still seamless from the side of the screen.
Oh, good.
Janna, do you want to go next?
Yeah, great. So let's try sharing it and see how we go.
Oh, how did you do that?
Is it there?
Yeah.
Fantastic. I had to have a trial run with my husband earlier today just to, you know, accept all the things to let me do it. So that's cool. I'm glad it worked. So I've got a two-dimensional background more than anything. I studied printmaking for my undergraduate degree, and then got into ceramics in about 2012. I just did an evening course at Canterbury Potters, and that got me really into clay. And I ended up doing my master's in Chicago at SAIC back in 2014. And since then, I've just been all about clay. So I'm based in Christchurch, and I've set up a home studio which I share with my husband and my two little girls who are in there doing lots of ceramics with me as well. But this is the work that was in the award show, and it's called Tussle. And it's from a series of porcelain works. And I'm kind of looking primarily at the relationships within a family unit. So this piece is really about sibling rivalry, namely the word tussle. And so it's about, you know, mess, fragility, but also that frenzied energy, all the detritus, the bartering that goes on just in everyday domestic life, really, which is my life at the moment. Let's keep moving. And so that's a detail. And so in this work, it's I've chosen a pink and a teal glaze, which are kind of colliding with each other, and the colours are mixing. It's messy, they're dribbling, the glazes are dribbling down, flowing, and you'll see here that they actually mix and dribble down the support. So you're sort of not sure what's the sculpture, what's the plinth, like it's quite ambiguous, which is what I'm quite interested in, kind of shifting that divide. And so here's just a shot of kind of in progress. And so this work is made up of individual pieces. It's not all kind of assembled in a wet clay form. So I just make a whole lot of small pieces. Some are hand built, Some are poured onto a plaster slab, which is called slip drawing. Some are actually made with like a piping tool. So you add vinegar to slip, which is the liquid clay, and it thickens it to kind of like an icing consistency, and then you can pipe with it, which is pretty fun. My girls love doing that too. And then here's an image just showing, so each piece is individually glazed, which is quite a lot of work, and then you know, sorted, and then comes the fun part where you have to stack it all together. And it's the glaze itself is actually quite matte, quite chalky, so the bits do kind of hold together quite nicely when you're stacking them. But then what happens is you've made your stack, and then in the kiln you don't know what's going to happen. The high temperature, I think this one's fired to 1222 Celsius, which is cone 6, so things kind of collapse, they slump, they slip, especially with the porcelain clay, and I can't control that. And it's good for me to do that, you know. I think it really creates much more interesting work when you just kind of let the kiln do its thing and allow it to determine what the final form of the piece is going to be. So that's part of Tussle. It's in 2 pieces. And here's some other works, which is from a similar series, just showing some more firing slumps, some pretty precarious things going on, and some other pieces where we're showing kind of that exchange or that bartering of the colour. And that's me. But yeah, I was pretty excited to get accepted into this award. It's pretty cool to have the work on show up there. I wish I could come up and see it. Now, how do we unshare?
You should go back to the same box and press the X.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. Cool.
Thanks so much for sharing that process. I'm real. It's real buzzing to see that it's constructed individually, not as one whole piece.
Yeah. It's pretty risky.
Awesome. Paul or Yukari, would you like to go? You're still on mute. Oh, whoever's going to go.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
So I'm Paul, but I use the artist name Bonco for my work. And the piece that I submitted is a rug. It's really the first rug I made. I did a rug making course and learned the technique, and then this is the first product. I'm primarily a painter. In fact, I'm almost all a painter apart from a love of textiles. So I was thinking, what would be a nice way to view my paintings? And so I thought, oh, well, I'll make a rug so you can stand on and look at the painting. I'll just try the share thing. Can you see that? You can see that. Okay, so this is the rug that I submitted, and it's really an idea of how can we transcend the material to reach the spiritual. It's kind of my interest, and it's. Sorry, can you hear me?
We can only see your purple screen, by the way.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm going to turn that off then. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, I'm just going to abandon that. Sorry. I was just talking about, this is a picture of the rug. So it's really a way to think about where we are in the world and what's important to us. And last year I was quite inspired by a Genesis passage, Genesis 15, about when Abraham is instructed by God to do various things, and he's an old man and he doesn't have any children, and God says, don't worry about it, just go outside and count the stars, and however many stars you can count is how many descendants you'll have. So it's really kind of an illogical command. It's impossible to count the stars, but it kind of it speaks to undertaking a task which you know is impossible, and it's imperfect. It's about embracing imperfection, yeah, it kind of just struck a chord. I have a terrible allergy to wool. So when I was making the rug, I had to PPE myself up with mask and goggles and gloves. So there's kind of a pleasure and pain. Also with my paintings, sorry, I had intended to show you slides. There's also a pleasure and pain, and they take me so long. You know, there's quite a lot of physical pain involved, and it's a repetition of the geometric shape to obtain this kind of meditative state, which I enjoy. Yeah, I guess, yeah, obviously peace is a play on whatever you want it to be, but yeah, I don't know. I think that I think it's quite self-evident of what my intention was, that we're a piece of the whole, that no matter who we are, what we believe, how different we may be, we all have our role in society, and we are just a speck in the universal. So I guess it was, you know, the middle of COVID, and I thought, well, you know, people are dealing with various things, and some people are feeling very isolated and or, you know, unsure of their position. And it was just a kind of reminder, I guess, to myself that we are a piece. You know, humans have only been around for a couple of 100,000 years, let alone, you know, the universe. And we have we're here for a purpose, and we have a role, and we add our little piece to the bigger part. And I take comfort in that, just as there's an uncountable amount of stars. You know, they say that if you were to count the grains of sand on all the beaches on Earth, it wouldn't be a fraction of the stars in, I think, even our galaxy alone. So it's just a reminder of that. Thanks so much for having me.
Beautiful. Thanks so much for sharing. Nearly got there with the share screen.
Yeah, I'm really sorry about that. I was just talking to myself, obviously, but anyway, sorry.
Can I just ask a question? Have you made any more rugs since that first one?
Yeah. It's unpleasant compared to painting, which is so quiet and peaceful. But no, I am making rugs. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, we better head on over to Yukari. I'm not sure if this meeting's just going to finish when the time limit says or not. So if it does, I hope it doesn't. But yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, passing the mic over to you.
Okay, hi. I just gonna make mine short. And I just sent you the email with 2 images. If you can share that, might be helpful. So I'm Yukari. I'm based in Auckland, and the work I'm showing in this show is more part of the exhibition that I made for my degree show at exactly a year ago. I think Paul was in the same year with me. We had a MFA show that no one got to see because it was closed for the COVID. So this is the actual installation of the work, the room I was given at Elam. In the exhibition piece I have in this show is actually different. I take an image. So the work is in foreground. You can see the acorn, and some are made out of pewter, and some are made out of bronze, as well as the sticks. So this project is a site-specific project, and I have been primarily a painter before, but in recent years I'm making site-specific works. Since I'm interested in present time of here and now in the space, by paying attention to unique objects of the space in front of us, in the actual environment that we inhabit, I think we are become more aware of where we are in the present time. And I think at lockdown, we all got to spend time locally, and because of the limited, option of what we get to do, we got to pay attention more to what's around us and what sort of environment we actually spend time with. Yeah, so when I was given this room or exhibition space, I decided to look around, and I find this oak tree standing outside of the exhibition space. So I decided to make sort of the miniature replica of acorns instead of bringing my own work into the space. Because I'm interested in sort of giving the power back to the space and object as opposed to myself speaking. And it was inspired by a couple of the researchers I had in my master's degree. One is the ecological philosopher Timothy Morton, and another one is the Walter Mignolo, who is the father of decolonization studies. So my activity is trying to attempt to give back the power to the object in space. And so it is given to the constellation, the object in space is possessing spirits or being deities. And this sort of interesting chapter I read in both of these philosophers, they talk about the idea of genius, how in current time or modern time, we talk about how he is a genius, and how the original meaning of genius was different. It was more like I need sort of the place and location having the deities, and if people are inspired by the deities, then she has been genius for a while, so she had a power to create. But modernization sort of changed the power structure, so people started owning the power as opposed to borrowing the power from the location and the site. So I thought that story was really interesting. Therefore, I just made the work about the space I was given. So I wasn't sure how it works if this is site-specific work. So I wasn't sure how it means if it's presented in different context, which is how it's shown now. And I'm actually still not sure about it. Yeah, that's my story and my work.
It was really interesting to install your work because the translation of it, like you could just tell that our gallery space may not have been what it was meant for. You know what I mean? And I remember you saying that you really wanted it to be shown against or as close as possible to natural light. And it was quite interesting because our whole gallery space there's just no window in sight, which is different for an installation piece like this. And I guess this show really contained it in a way where maybe it felt like it wanted to break free. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I was hoping I didn't drive you guys crazy by the installation direction, and yeah.
But yeah, I would have definitely loved to see the work in its environment that gives it the most it's best shown in. So that was definitely interesting about the work. But did you make the pieces out of a type of metal, was it? Some pieces were cast?
Yeah, so Acorn cast, I made the wax casting with the mold first, and melted the pewter in the foundry and made it, by one. Yeah, the same as the branch piece, like a little bronze stick. Yeah.
Well, I'll open everyone up. Thank you so much for sharing, Yukari. And I guess I'll just open up any questions for anyone at this point. Yeah, if you can remember your question from whoever you want to talk to about it. But I guess one question I have, which is quite interesting that might relate to some of you, is I really like how some of you say that you guys were painters and then you have kind of ventured into this 3D sculptural kind of making, but still with the painting principles in mind, like how you say you have just explored line, or you wanted a place for to see your paintings, or somewhere to stand where you can see your paintings with rugs and stuff. And I just thought, what were your thoughts around that transition? And if you thought that, I don't know, having an award that differentiated those two mediums were something that interests you or not, or do you think they're still relevant in the art award ecosystem at the moment? Maybe let's talk to that.
Well, I guess coincidentally, the first of my star paintings was at your Molly Morpeth Award. I was a finalist for that too. And then this is my first rug. So that's quite funny. But yeah, I think it's not necessarily about the medium. I mean, the medium will, you'll be attracted to certain, how you want to spend your day or your time. But the subject matter necessarily doesn't change, or your reason or your motivation.
For me, a lot of it, I was constrained with the lockdown, so I couldn't get to my studio. So there was a bit of, forced. I had to kind of shift my making so that I could get through the day without getting to the studio. But I still believe that whatever medium you're working with, everything feeds into each other. So at the moment, I guess I'm a painter, but I still believe I have this kind of exploration into the 3D environment is exciting, and to be able to showcase that it's a real honor. So thank you. I haven't been able to enter the award before, so I've entered it as a painter, but not in a 3D manner, and it's been exciting, and but I do think that they feed. It's just a constant shifting and feeding into one another. It depends on, you know, if it's working with wire or working with paint.
I just wanted to ask you too, Wendy, what's your experience, I guess, working with light in, I guess, as an object and as just in general, like working with light as your medium?
Yeah, well, I'm as a painter, I actually I make my own paint as well. So with the pigments, I've worked with resin paints, and they've been helping me with different types of additives. So so I can do different things with the paint as well. You know, because one of the things that I am really interested in is controlling medium. And but so with the light, what I do is each Perspex coloured panel in my X's is specifically placed, and so when the light hits the side of the work, it overlays like you would do in normal painting, right? In traditional painting, and so all of those colours move. And when you see the work, you're seeing lots of colour and light through it. I'll just quickly show you. I've got one here, and hopefully I can show you. Wait on. So you can see the light on the roof. Sort of see that. So this is work. This is a big work here. Trying to show you, how do I do it? So that's another big work there, and it. I'm going to do it this way. So what it does is it reflects everything in the room. How am I going to get that? Can you see it? Just a little bit. So it reflects your furniture and everything in the room, but also it reflects up on the ceiling. And if you, yeah, so there's all different things like that the work. So it is actually painting with light. When I think about it, it's more like painting with light. And also using mirrored reflection and refraction of mirrors with the work and with coloured perspex. So yeah, it's just translating my painting to light, using light, the traditional painting using light. Yeah.
And Susan and Birgit, I was just wanting to ask from, I guess, a weaving. Susan, your pieces, the scale of it, when you see it in the picture, you really don't really get a sense of how detailed and intricate every little piece is. Did your practice always start out collecting little pieces and weaving them all together like that?
No. No, I mean, I've got a practice that changes all the time, and I don't know how to weave. I've never been taught. So really, for me, my environmental practice is one, you know, like I'll go out into an environment and just make something with whatever's there. So in this case, it happened to be flora. You know, I've done a whole body of work that I made from just being on the beaches and picking up detritus. So I made work with sculptural work with that. So I don't, yeah, and I don't know. It's not a. I don't plan it really, you know. I just kind of make, and because down there by the river, you know, you've got. I'm basically down there for an hour, and you know, I want to make something, and it really just depends on the materials, how they come together, and what I do with them. Yeah. Is that a good answer? I don't know. I'm not good at this talking thing. I just like to make work, not talk about it.
Birgit, have you ever made a pew pew before?
Not a pew pew, but I have made last year with breaks because of the situation. But that was my task to make a rapaki, which is a shoulder cloak. And I had some, so that was a whole year's process with a full muka one. And I had a lot of help from the Wahine from the Toi Potama collective in Poirua, who supported me and guided me through. Now that was my first kakahu type of work. The work that I have exhibited, like this balancing act, that's as I said, it's the first time of using that material in that way. And I guess for me, it's really important to build a connection with my materials and to really get right deep into that relationship material and what my hand's doing with it and what I want to do with it. And while weaving, like I've been taught traditionally, but I always wanted to, I guess I wanted to take it to my own, I want to do my own journey with it in all respect to the material, because harakeke is a taonga, and it's precious, and it needs to be respected, and it needs to be treated just that way that I'm trying to do. But I always wanted to do my own thing with it. You know, I don't want to repeat what Kairaranga have been doing for hundreds of years. I just wanted to take my own slant on it and use it in my own way, and just add another layer to that. And normally I work quite intuitively and organically, and that piece was more, that was really planned. So I really had to see which part of the row will curl or pew, so I can get a needle through. How I needed like it's been threaded with a needle, so I had to find the right thread. I had to find a long enough needle. It's really quite a fragile material, so the harakeke, when it's dry, it can break or split, and then just keep it that way so it just doesn't fall apart. And while I'm just looking in the background, I've just done another piece that's sort of an evolution, I guess. I just turn the light on, maybe you see the shadow better. This is, oops, where am I? Here. Can you see that? So this is a new work where I have, instead of having it flat and manipulated into a three-dimensional shape, this one is managed. That's a development. I actually managed to make it that way, that it's not flat. It's actually quite, well, it's flexible, but it's that shape. So that's just another, where I get the next level for my own pathway. So, yeah.
Does anyone else have any questions?
Cut here.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for carving out this time in your day to share with us and to provide some insight into the works that you all create and into your practice and your process. It's a real privilege and an honour to be privy privy to artists' practice and processes. Because what would galleries be without our artists? And so this is just a big mihi to you all. Thanks for entering. Congratulations again for being selected and for sending your work. And it's a privilege for us to have it in the space. And yeah, we try our very best to accommodate you all. And it's been cool to have an opening during this time, and we couldn't have been made possible without your amazing artworks. So yeah, thank you so much from the Whakatane Libraries and Galleries team. We will definitely be sharing this on all our socials, and we encourage you guys to share it as well. But yeah, ngā mihi nunui kia koutou katoa kia hui hui mai nei I te pōnei, and have an amazing rest of your night. Thank you all so much. We all appreciate, and I appreciate the flexibility and the technical difficulties tonight. Sorry about that. But yeah, thank you all so much. So yeah, cool. Feel free to leave.
Thanks, Israel. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Sam.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Taki te anō.